It is time. It has been so long since I made a video about reality TV, but I have a valid excuse. I'm going to grad school. I'm getting my MFA. So let's just take a moment to appreciate the fact that I'm furthering my career as opposed to doing YouTube videos. However, I do want to talk about the Ultimatum Queer Love reunion today. If not because it's crazy and wild and insane, but also because I have no one to talk to about it. So let's all talk in the comments and spill this tea. Specifically other queer people. I would love for them to comment. Now, I'm not saying that straight people can't watch the Ultimatum Queer Love. Of course they can watch it. But I see a lot of commentary YouTube channels watching the show and not necessarily getting the nuance of it, considering the fact that the people who are watching it are, I'm assuming, straight. The commentary space in general on YouTube is a very straight space. And, I'm queer theorist Jose Munoz. I'm here for queer time. That was a very niche reference. Anyway, so let's go into queer time mode and talk about the Ultimatum Queer Love reunion. I should start by naming all the couples and explaining what the Ultimatum is. The Ultimatum is a show in which one person in a couple gives the other person in the couple an ultimatum. Marry me or move on. So these people want to get married. These people want to have kids. They want to have a family sometimes. And the other partner, for whatever reason, does not want to get married. The reasons for not wanting to get married vary from, I don't believe in marriage to, hey, I would get married to you, just not right now. Which is where things get a little complicated when it comes to, whose side you're on, because, honestly, people have really good reasons to not want to get married. But we'll get to those reasons in a second. Let's talk about the couples. Oh, also, basically, the couples split off into different couples for 3 weeks, so they get with someone else on the show and have a trial marriage with them, kind of proving to them whether or not they really truly love their current partner, or, if they see that things can be different, are they still going to love their current partner? And then they go back to their original partner, and then they have a decision whether to stay with their current partner, who they came into the show with, go with the partner that they went to the trial marriage with, or just walk out by themselves. I find that it's very rare that someone wants to walk out by themselves. Often they either get dumped or, they get left. I think by the end of the show, it creates some kind of, it is a social experiment, and it does create this social norm that, you leave with somebody, you're going to get married to somebody. Which is why it's so interesting that they invited queer people on the show, and something that they didn't really dive into is the history of queer people in marriage. There is a sect of the queer community that wants marriage equality. And I think we should obviously fight for marriage equality. What I'm not saying is that we shouldn't. What I am saying, though, is that there is a sect of queer people who don't necessarily believe in the institution of marriage as it is written in the law. Which kind of makes sense, right? Because, the government has been kind of fucking with queer people's rights for so long, specifically now when we're talking about trans people, drag queens. Queer people in all types of red states are under attack. So I can see why people are the government that dislikes me and is taking away my rights wants me to include them in my marriage? No, thank you. But that's obviously not what we're here for, or what we're going to be talking about today, because these people want to get married, and oh my god, do they want to get married. The difference between the queer love ultimatum and the regular ultimatum, though, is that these couples have been with each other for a second. Regular queer love, they were we've been together for 1 year, and I'm wondering why we're not married yet, and I'm 23 years old, and it's do you even have a 401k yet? So that being said, let's introduce the couples and get to know them. So first there's Lexi and Ray. Lexi is the one who introduced the ultimatum. Ray is the one who received the ultimatum. They've been together for 5 years, something like that. Lexi uses she, her pronouns. Ray uses she, her pronouns. They don't include pronouns on the show. Why did they not do that? Because there are people with variant pronouns in the show. And if we're really going to talk about how we're queer allies by having queer people on our TV screens, why don't we represent them in the way that they want to be represented? Anyways, so there's Lexi and Vanessa. There's Tiff and Mildred. Tiff uses they, them pronouns. Mildred uses she, her pronouns. They've also been together for a long time, but they've broken up constantly, back and forth, throughout their entire relationship. They said upwards of 50 times. Then there's Ozzy and Sam. Sam uses she, her pronouns. Ozzy uses Ozzy as a pronoun. So It's not she, it's not they, you just refer to Aussie as Aussie. I've heard this before in the queer community, a lot of people might be new to it. Just so you know, instead of saying Aussie, she wants to get coffee today, you say Aussie wants to get coffee today. Pretty simple. We also find out on the show that Aussie is not Aussie's birth name. In fact, they talk about Aussie's dead name on the show, and I have not heard anybody use Aussie's dead name, thank God, in these reviews. It would be highly disrespectful to. That's all we know about Aussie's gender thing. Aussie hasn't really, like, come out really about what their gender is or anything like that. And so we shall just refer to them as Aussie. And then finally, there is Xander and Vanessa. Not finally, Mal and Yoli. Mal and Yoli are also a couple. Xander issued the ultimatum to Vanessa. Yoli introduced the ultimatum to Mal. Sam introduced the ultimatum to Ozzy. Mildred introduced the ultimatum to Tiff. And like I said, Lexi introduced the ultimatum to Ray. So I'll recap the show just a little bit what happened during the season. The trial marriages were Vanessa and Ray, Xander and Yoli, who, like, actually fell in love, Ozzy and Mildred, Tiff and Sam, and Mal and Lexi. It's funny because Mal and Lexi and Yoli and Xander are, like, the only people who make actual connections on the show. Everyone else is kind of like, oh, I'm stuck with this other person for, like, the next 3 weeks. Lexi and Mal are more like platonic best friends, even though Lexi would have sex with Mal if she was down, and in fact tries to have sex with Mal, and it just does, like, not work out. Which, like, is, if that's not the lesbian experience, just, like, trying to fuck your friend, I don't know what is. So the reunion starts off by just naming the couples and who's together and who's not together. It takes a really long time for them to get through all of this, but, like, to make a long story short, Lexi and Ray, at the time of filming, are together. Xander and Vanessa are not together, and they're both real sad about it. They mention being best friends, they really miss each other, but they're just not meant to be together at this time. And if you watch the whole season, you'll know that they're correct. Like, Vanessa just changed her views on marriage within the 3 weeks that the trial marriages were happening, and she thought that Xander was, like, not gonna get anything from the experience, and in fact, she claimed that Xander was, like, asexual before meeting her. Or something along those lines, like, they'd be asexual if it weren't for me. Which is, like, not necessarily how asexuality works. For those who don't know, asexuality basically means that you do not want to have sex. Some asexual people do have sex to please a partner, and other asexual people do not want to have sex at all. And that's not even getting into, like, what the difference between asexual and aromantic is. So Vanessa's just, like, spitting lies, because then Xander falls in love with Yoli. So, like, obviously they're not asexual. I don't know where this claim came from, and I don't know why they kept it in. Probably because it makes Vanessa look like a really bad person. And ultimately, the storyline for Vanessa is that she's a bad person. Anywho, let's move on. And then we learn that Mal and Yoli are no longer together, happily they say. And then when asked how soon they broke up, Yoli immediately says 2 weeks. And Mal's like, no. And here's the thing. I would believe Yoli, except for the fact that she has proven herself to be, I'm not going to say a liar, but she does have selective memory. Like, multiple times when it comes to what her and Xander have done, whenever she's confronted about that, often she says something along the lines that didn't happen, or didn't happen like that, I don't remember that, and then she waits until Xander or Vanessa or Mal calls her out and asks for clarification, and then she'll go, oh yeah, you're right. So if Yoli says that they broke up 2 weeks after the show, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I don't know whether or not Mal is implying they broke it up sooner or later than that, but whatever Mal says online, I'll believe. And that's not just because Mal is, like, the prettiest person I've ever seen in my goddamn life. So during the Mal and Yoli segment, Mal does make a great point, which is that during the season, Yoli really gave the audience the showcase that Mal was actually, like, the best partner on the Ultimatum. Mal was always in Yoli's corner. Even when Yoli had feelings for another person, Mal was like, you go and explore that, because that's what we're here to do. And if you come back and you don't want me at the end, like, you gotta tell me. So when Mal and Yoli ended the season, they were engaged, and that was the whole big shocker, that Yoli even said yes to Mal, because it was kind of like the knowiest yes I've ever heard. she was like, yes, but also I'm in love with someone else, and that doesn't change anything, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so why are you saying yes? I think she only said yes because she had no idea what Xander was going to do, because Xander kept their cards pretty close to their chest throughout the entire season. It is also revealed in this segment that Xander and Yoli were, like, trying to make it work. Yoli was supposed to come out to Hawaii at some point, or Xander was supposed to come out to Hawaii at some point. I don't know which one of them lives in Hawaii. Someone was going to Hawaii. I should call this show ADHD Recap, because I don't know what's happening half the time. Because I have ADHD. Anyways, so Xander, does admit, even though Yoli takes a while to admit, that Xander and Yoli were, like, trying to make it work, visiting each other, or making plans to visit each other. That didn't work out either. Nothing's really working out for Yoli at this point. Nothing's really working out for Xander at this point. I feel bad for both of them. I think that genuinely it might have, like, worked out even just for a little while if Xander had asked Yoli to marry them and Yoli had not said yes to Mal. I think Yoli saying yes to Mal is probably a really big trust breaker between Xander and Yoli. Because a big part of the show is choosing the person that you want to be with. Choosing you. I want to choose you. Then there's an entire dog montage of all the dogs that are on this season, because lesbians love their fucking dogs. Which, we know this because Sam and Tiff, I think, got into a fight about Sam not caring about Tiff's dog enough. Like, Sam even points out that Tiff only made them dinner or, like, a meal, like, once or twice, and made that dog a lot of fucking meals. Which leads us, by the way, to Tiff and Mildred, who, let's just stop everything. Let's stop the drama, let's stop the tea, let's stop the, like, intrigue about what's happened, and let's just say exactly what happened. Mildred was arrested for domestic violence. The fact that Netflix even had Mildred on the show after she was arrested for domestic violence against Tiff. Tiff felt so out of control and in danger that she needed to call the police on Mildred. I don't take that lightly. I don't think Netflix should take that lightly, but they did. Because here is Mildred in the same room as Tiff. If I were Netflix, I would think that that'd be a huge liability to have these two people who have an ongoing court case in the room together. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not silly. It's not tea. It's genuinely sad. And then Mildred continues to manipulate and gaslight Tiff on screen the entire time. Now, there is one caveat to this story which makes it very, very complicated, which is that one of the fights they got into was that Tiff wanted Mildred to pay rent and wanted her son, who has special needs, to pay rent as well. Now, here's the thing. Mildred did not reveal what kind of special needs her son has. We don't know whether or not her son works. We don't know whether or not her son could provide for himself. Special needs is a spectrum. There are plenty of special needs people who do pay their own rent. However, because we don't know the extent to which this person has special needs, it does seem rather evil to make them pay rent. So that's just, like, deeply complicated and on TV now. So, I don't even know where to go after that. I don't even know how to come back from that dark topic to, like, a fun, light reunion. Because you know what happens? Tiff walks out. Tiff leaves because Tiff is being gaslit on screen. And then Sam runs after her like a good friend does. I'm Team Sam, to be honest. Like, if I had to choose, I'm like Mal, Sam, and sometimes Xander. Those are the people who I, like, typically trust and understand throughout this show. So let's just move on to Ozzy and Sam, who are together, and so far I haven't seen anything that says that they're not still together. So they might be the only couple that is still together from this whole entire shit show of a show. With the caveat, though, that Ozzy's family does not know about Sam. Which, like, pretty easy solution. They're on TV. They're on a Netflix show. People are gonna know. And it sounds like Ozzy's not even, like, out to, like, a lot of their friends, because they say a lot of their friends use their dead name. Or maybe they just have shitty friends who won't stop using their dead name? Either way, a lot's happening with that, and I can't really comment on it because I don't know all the details. And yeah, that's the show. That's the reunion. My final thoughts on the Ultimatum Queer Love. I think that a lot of things could have been handled a lot better. This could have been a more queer-friendly show. Polyamory was sort of discussed a little bit within the show, but it was only discussed by Vanessa, who just wants to fuck everybody, so she was like, why don't we have an orgy? And that's not necessarily what polyamory is. But they could have had so many good discussions about what are real options for people who find themselves to be in love with two people at once. Polyamory is an option there. Unless you are self-identified as a monogamous person in a monogamous relationship and you don't want to try that. And polyamory is just such a queer concept. Also, not having the pronouns on the show, bad move by Netflix. Having a straight host, bad move by Netflix. Not that the host actually matters, except for in the reunion. And honestly, this reunion is better than like Love is Blind reunions with Nick and Vanessa Lachey. I think where Netflix goes wrong is that these reunions seem to be only filmed over the next couple of hours, as opposed to like 12 to 14 hour long days like they do on The Real Housewives. Andy Cohen gave an interview about the Love is Blind live reunion and said that you can't do a reunion live because you sometimes need to be there for hours on end for anything real to come out. And these kind of reunions kind of prove that. Yeah, that's my short and sweet review on the Ultimatum Queer Love. I hope you have a lovely day, and please subscribe and like and comment. Especially if you're queer, please comment down below and tell me what you thought of the show, what you thought of each person, etc., etc. Bye!